Everyone. On this Women's Day, I wish you a lot of fearlessness. Why it's very important to be fearless is because fear is something that safeguards us. Yes, you heard me right. Fear safeguards us in the face of imminent danger. Think about it. When you're at the traffic light, you wait for a few minutes, you check left, you check right, and you look ahead after checking because you do not want to be run down by a passing bus, right? So fear has an adaptive function where it makes us take care of ourselves. Yet, over the years, in fact over centuries, we have learned to give away our adaptive function of fear. For the simple reason, we get very fearful of consequences. When we are communicating, we start filtering. Will the person in front of me take my message well? Let's say it's a spouse, it's a parent, or even a boss in an organization. What do? Centuries of patriarchal practices have taught us that think before you speak, avoid consequences. So while it's nice to think before we speak, we really need to think about, are we stifling our own voice? There is a way to talk about things without filtering to please another. I will give you a very famous story, a folk tale in fact, from Indian mythology. Emperor Akbar had a very wise minister called Birbal. Birbal always spoke of concepts in a very intelligent manner, and that is why even now his words are regarded with wisdom. Perhaps the millennials here don't know much about Akbar and Birbal, but I remember growing up on stories of Akbar and Birbal, and I really wanted to learn to talk like Birbal. Like for example, I remember one particular story that stuck out in my mind. Akbar was taking a walk in the garden and he saw a gardener, a lady gardener in fact, working happily in spite of being full term in her pregnancy. He came back to his palace and he saw his queen, who was actually lying down on a luxurious bed, and she was being ministered to by the various maids that she had. So he declared to the queen that I think it would be better if you looked after yourself and you did not sit and just rest it out. The queen did not know what to say. She tried to get her point across, but centuries of filtering did not let her talk about it. After a week, she realized that she could just not go on. So she called Birbal and she asked for his help on how to communicate that to her husband. Birbal knew that Akbar prided himself on his gardens. So for a week, he told the gardener, the head gardener, that nobody was to water a particular garden. Akbar, when he went after a week, 10 days, he saw that that garden was completely in a mess. He yelled at the head gardener and called for him. And the head gardener said that Birbal had given instructions for the garden not to be maintained. No watering, no pruning, nothing. Very angry, Akbar called Birbal and he said, how dare he do something like that? Birbal said, Sire, nature, if you go to the jungle has no one tending to the trees. Yet they flower, they blossom, and they are good. In the same way, but if you see a garden needs careful tending. So I thought, since the rule which applied to the gardener's wife was to be applied to our dear queen, let's see what happens. Akbar got the point, and at that moment he realized that filtering of information and just arbitrarily issuing rules does not work. What works for one does not work for another. The queen's privileges were restored and she was happy. So why am I talking about fearlessness to you today? We don't have personal Birbals available to us who are going to guide us on how to talk intelligently without filtering. So what each one of us needs to do is learn to speak our truth in a manner that we are effective and we don't apologize for our viewpoints. So on this Women's Day, I really wish you effective communication by discovering the fearless you inside you. Have a great day.